Let me ask you a question. Are you a champion leader? Well, I'll tell you what,
Absolutely.
I want to be, Chris, I want to be just based on that title even. So where did the title come from?
Well, yeah, it's not, of course, a straight path, but back in my really in my years in firing with your mastermind
Yes.
group, that was a word that came up as something that resonated with me. Being a champion, and not just being a champion like we typically think.
Athletics,
Winner,
right?
first place to cross the finish line. That kind of thing. But really, being an advocate. Someone that advocates champions other, kind of the verb of the word, the
Ooh,
verb
that's
form
good.
of it. And it just resonated with me, partly because I liked that aspect of people when you see them championing others, championing initiatives, and even championing themselves. And anyway, so that was a word that I grasped a hold of, and it was aspirational to me.
Yeah.
I wanted to be a champion. And really, when I looked back at my career and my life, I could see times when I'd been championed or times when I wish I had been championed. And, there's a distinct difference in those. And I kind of reverse engineered a little bit. And what does it take to be a champion? And what do I wish I would have had? And how have I championed others? And it just kind of fell into this thing of, in my, leadership role, I can champion, I can be a champion in the whatever sphere I'm given. And so this book became, the champion leader became a kind of an aspirational ideal that, I wanted to lay out what my framework is and what it is I believe in, my values, and kind of how I want to show up every day.
Yes.
And so, there we go. Here we are, and it's pulled together, and I still try to live it out.
I love it. I love it. So you're saying that you haven't arrived. By the way, no leader on the planet has. But you also, I love the subtitle. What I lead teams, how to fiercely advocate for your team, cultivate their potential, and change their world. That is awesome. You tell this story because I know you're into athletics. Remember that story you tell? Was it your niece?
Yeah.
About the race? I'll never forget that. See, I still remember over a year ago. Tell me about that story, because I think that's so powerful for our listeners.
Yeah, it's. I opened the book, and in fact, I got to show it to her last week. And she's a couple years older, and she doesn't quite remember it, but it'll be interesting how the story ages. But yeah, I was training for a triathlon, and I was out on my run, and she was riding her bike with me, and talking about why I wanted even to do this. And she says, well, why would you go do that race if you're not going to win? And this was a race in Milwaukee, and again, this is the intro of my book. There's 3,000 people from all over the country, and that qualify for this. And I was kind of lucky to even get in it.
Right.
And so I'm like, how do you explain this? She was 6 at the time, and there's a lot of things you do, especially in the athletic world. You don't do it because you're going to cross the line first,
right?
But there's 101 other ways to win. And so as we continued on my run, and so I'm trying to explain to her what that winning isn't just crossing the finish line first.
That's right.
But we think about that a lot, and so when we use the word champion, if that's all we think of as being a champion, as the valedictorian, right, best in show, I think we really miss out on this word. And so in my intro, I kind of go through this journey of trying to explain it to her, but really it opened up the word for me. It's like, I want to be a champion that has nothing to do with being the first one across the finish line.
You and I, we share a passion of cycling.
Yeah.
And You're right. I'm not riding in France because I think I'm gonna win the Tour de France.
Right.
Um, but young kids think that though. I do feel that young kids think, why even enter anything unless you can be the very, very, very number one person? But what I hear you saying is that, look, when you embrace a spirit of growth,
Yeah.
you need to be your best.
Yeah.
Is this true?
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, if you were racing in the Alps, and if your only goal was to finish first, well, you'd be dejected, and you wouldn't even train.
Interesting.
That's
Yeah.
not even that doesn't even really get you out there. But you set what the win is for you.
That's good. Oh, that's good. Set the win for you. That is good. So I love how you do start the book out with that story. And then I want people to see a couple things. One is, of course, the book, folks. You got to get this book. This is, I mean, what I'm looking at headlines today, Chris. I woke up and I saw headlines like everybody else. I'm not going to date the live stream by saying what's in the headlines today. But I think if you ask the world right now, do you want somebody who is fiercely advocating for you, cultivating your potential so that you can change the world? I think that would like rank as the number one thing people want in our world today, regardless of what side of the elections you're on. Don't you think that people want this?
Yeah, I completely do, and I think that's that's an undercurrent of this whole thing that I would love for people to take away from it, is that, like, find something you can be for, find
Mm,
someone you can be for. And um, I just think about people in general, and from all ages. And
yeah.
man, if they went through life knowing that there was somebody in their corner, they had an
Mm,
advocate. We'd bend the curve on performance. We'd bend the curve on just accomplishment, and just how people experience just in life enjoyment, knowing that someone's for you. And we can spend a lot of time. I quote this in the book somewhere. Um, I think it's a Dale Carnegie quote.
yeah.
Any fool can criticize, and most fools do.
Ooh,
And
yeah.
and what about being a champion? Just being for something. I'm for you. I'm here for you. I believe in you. That's pretty powerful.
So good. I
Yeah.
love it. Well,
Yeah.
listen, you've been around in terms of different roles and you've led different teams.
Yeah.
And I think if we ask the audience today, what is your team? I think some people would say, I'm on a faith team, I'm on a political team, I'm on a vocational team. But I think we do as people. It's like that's how we get things done. I mean, you've heard the myth of the self-made woman, the self-made man. How important is it that we do leadership and life in community?
Yeah, I think that's really critical. And that's the thing about, maybe someone look at the title and, well, I'm not really a leader, so
Mm,
this isn't for me. But you actually are. You're a leader in many spheres.
moms, dads, right?
Absolutely, neighbors, and maybe most importantly, you're a leader of yourself. Um,
Ooh, that's
maybe
good.
maybe being a champion for yourself is the most critical thing
Ooh.
you can do. And if that's the only thing somebody takes out of this book, then that's a win.
Oh,
Um,
I like that so much. That is so good. I do when I'm out cycling, you and I have cycled together.
yes, we have.
Um, so that's why I bring that up. But, I do listen sometimes to motivational things, and I do get fired up when self-leadership.
Yeah.
I think you're kind of the same way where have you done triathlons?
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't do the swimming and running part that you do, but um, a lot of training does happen alone. Like, in other words, if you say, "Well, I'm only going to train when I have 5 friends around me,"
Yeah.
it really doesn't happen that way. So I think you might have just nailed it right there, where you said a champion leader starts with yourself.
Yeah.
And what do you think about all the psychologists who say that most people's self-talk is very negative? Like, oh, you messed up, Chris or Kary, or hey, you should have done better, or why are you such an idiot? Or, like don't you think there's a lot of self-talk that people aren't championing themselves?
Absolutely. And even and I'll confess to this. I was talking to some friends about this book here a few weeks ago, and we got onto some other topics, and one of the people reminded me, it's like, Chris, you probably need to just take care of yourself here. Why aren't you a champion of yourself? Didn't you just write a book about it? Like, oh yeah. And it's a good reminder. Like I said, this is aspirational stuff. But yeah, if you can't champion yourself and put something in your own mind that you believe in. I mean, look, there's enough negativity and criticism out there, and if that's what you want to go find and dwell in, it's very easy. It's you don't have to go very many clicks to find that, but.
You know what, Chris? I was teaching yesterday some young people, some young university students, and I asked the question, not knowing about your book yesterday in my brain, but now it's coming out here. I said, how many of you are telling yourself a story in your day that I said that the story doesn't serve you? You see what I'm saying? Like, how many of you in your self-talk are telling yourself a story that is not serving where you want to go?
Yeah.
Guess how many people raised their hand?
I'm guessing a lot.
A lot. It was way over half. And I think the other half was maybe too scared to raise their hand. But I think we're all saying that we tell ourselves stories that aren't championing.
Right.
How did you start the switch in your own life to say, you know what? Not in a cheesy way, but I'm gonna be an advocate for Chris.
Well, again, it's a when you think about I write. There's a story later on in the book I write about running a half marathon, but part of it is you really can't champion others without with when you're empty yourself. It's like when you fly, when you get the flight attendants thing, put on your own mask before you put on somebody else's.
Oh yeah.
And that's kind of the difference between someone being a martyr. You spend yourself out, and you got nothing left to give. And so you've got to have some way of replenishing and playing your inner game so that you do have some capacity. And I tell the story about, trying to figure this out in my, half marathon running. And it was, I've struggled for 20 years to figure out how to, fuel so I can, do something better at 10 miles. The last 3 miles has been grueling. And it, that I don't want to, steal the punchline here.
Yeah.
But it starts, you've got to keep yourself full, and what it means to replenish yourself versus what replenishes me is going to be unique. And that's where the kind of the self study, the self-care, self-leadership, figuring out what makes you tick, because you're gonna be energized by different things than I am, and it's not a one size fits all. You can't just go to a vending machine and kind of punch it up, but there are some formulas and laws of the universe, I suppose, that you can tap into and say, this is what energizes me. And really what I have found in life, I have found, doing things for myself and, getting all the accolades for me has been very short-lived and kind of hollow, when you get to the end of the day. And I've just always found so much more meaning in being a champion. I've done a lot of coaching and mentoring over the years. And, when you can be that person that connects the dots for somebody, it's very powerful.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Well, listen, I know we got a few minutes left. This is your first book.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that briefly, because a book is a labor of love. It really is. By the way, you have lots of people jumping in here and sharing and watching, and they'll watch the replay too. But That's even I mean, there's times in the book process where you probably had to champion yourself. And, I tell authors a lot of times, like, look, writing a book is a very grueling process. It takes discipline. You have to face a lot of self-limiting beliefs. I've never been the same person. I've written 14 books. I've never been the same person before a book as after. So what do you think, Chris? Before the book, after, what do you think are some things that you're gonna walk away with that are little changes, maybe?
Well, definitely the self-limiting beliefs, and just, kind of the imposter, like who are you to write a book, and especially
Yeah.
about leadership. I mean, does the world really need any more leadership books? I mean, in a way that I had a phase where that just felt arrogant and pretentious, like
Mm.
I had something different to offer.
Wow.
And that's just things to work through. I was working with a coach,
Yeah.
and talking through it, and they kind of turned my own words against me, kind of like you have here, and said,
Yeah.
you got to champion yourself. You believe in this,
Oh, that's
and
good.
you believe in these principles. Use them on yourself first, and which, I mean, I talk about in the book. And so anyway, kind of coming full circle, and that's just the value of, you originally, the question was about the community piece, and that's why you do have to have that community around you that, that is your champion, that believes in what you're doing.
Oh
So
yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, that's such a good point you just said, that it almost is true. Like, we have to write the book to ourselves first,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, I tell people that oftentimes the audience of a book is your former stuck self, right?
I think that's
Because
true.
you know their story, you're empathetic, and you almost wish that this is the book someone would have handed you earlier in your life. And so I feel like this is a book that teams should read. This is a book that, I'm thinking of like sales teams. I'm thinking about, advisory boards. Who else do you think might be a good recipient of this book?
Well, I think, at its core, like, probably anybody can benefit from it, just on the basic premise of, if you just need permission to
Mm.
champion yourself, and put your, the self-care. I talk about self-awareness, self-leadership, and self-care, later on as a principle. And if that's the only thing somebody got out of it, I think that would be valuable. And I just don't know. I just don't know that many people that would go through the day and say, nope, I've got all the champions and support I need. I'm full. I don't need any
Yeah.
more. I just don't think that happens.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. So we all could benefit from it. And I think, especially, look, in this world of distractions, in this world of, I used to call it, me, getting hacked.
Yeah.
Like, just like your phone and your bank get hacked.
Right.
You as a leader get hacked.
Yeah.
And I think the champion leader is a great answer when you get hacked by your self-limiting belief. What do you think?
Yeah, it's true. In the book, I frame some of that, being hacked as, why don't we champion? And I refer to them. I tell a story about rip currents,
Mm.
and living on the South Shore of, Lake Michigan. I learned a lot about
Yes.
rip currents, and I feel like, and it's not just a leadership phenomenon. It's a life phenomenon. We can get sucked into rip currents.
Mm.
I think, you call it being hacked. My imagery is this rip current, and really the only solution, if you're out there on the beach, the only solution is either stay out of the water or know what they look like. Be able to see it coming, and know what you have to do. There's a way that you need to respond and act. And now I'm not that great of a swimmer. I've survived the triathlons, but I'm probably going to stay out of the water, because I don't know. But people that go through the, training and understand what is the phenomenon that's actually happening that's causing this.
Wow.
But I think there's so much that translates to ourselves. You can be in a conversation, you can be in an interaction, and it's like you can see it coming. You get triggered by whatever, old voices you're listening to, bad programming, negative self-talk. All these things are in essence a form of a rip current. And if you don't have the self-awareness and just understanding of what's going on, and realize, when somebody says this to me, it sucks me out, and like I don't recover for a while. It's like a rip current. So I use that as an example of what a leader, and I use the leader really broadly here. You got to be aware of those rip currents, because I think we all have them. They're just maybe a little bit different for each of us.
Folks, this is great. This is a fantastic metaphor. I love the analogy she's giving. I love how you can draw from your triathlete experience. Chris, I know that you speak, as we kind of close this down, you speak, you coach, you consult, you are a strategist. So the best place people can get a hold of you is Kristy with a K, KristyCone.com.
Yep.
And I know you have all kinds of things you're doing professionally, and I'm going to pop in the website right now so we can share it with everybody. But folks, that is at KristyCone.com. And it's so cool. I'm not even joking about this. 2 weeks ago, Sarah, me, Ruthie, and a couple other people were in the car for a team retreat. And I said, as we crossed an intersection, I said, hold on. I said, this is the exact intersection where we were in the car with Chris Cone. And I said, this is where she said she was going to do a book. I'm not even kidding. You can ask Sarah this. So you were on my mind 2 weeks ago, because I think, rewind, whatever. Was it a year or 2 years?
It was just over a year ago. Yeah. When
it would have been August.
Time to get this thing written.
It would have been August, a year ago. So congrats to you, because a lot of people have a book idea, 88% of the population, but most never get it done. And sure enough, you got it done.
Yeah.
Proud of you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate your support and the team, and, for championing me.
We all need it. We all need it. Well,
right.
Thanks so much, Chris. And everybody grab a book, follow Chris on social, LinkedIn, etc. And she will help you become a champion leader, as she is becoming one as well.
All right.
Thank you.
Great.